Vice President Mason, we may begin.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Cannabis Regulation Commission meeting. Today is Thursday, September 22nd. The time is 2:02 p.m. I am Vice President Thyris Mason, and I will be chairing this meeting. I'd like to welcome our newest commissioner, Commissioner Sandra Figueroa Villa. We are excited and happy to have you in this commission. The following commissioners have also joined this meeting virtually via Zoom: Commissioners Crockett and Naro. DCR's Interim Executive Director, Michelle Garakian, has also joined this meeting, along with members of the department and the City Attorney's Office. Before we continue, I'd like to turn the floor over to Commissioner Figueroa Villa. Do you want to say a few words before we get started?
I'll say a few words, and I want to just thank you. I'm very honored and pleased and very proud to be appointed by our mayor to this commission. Cannabis, since its inception, while I was on the police commission, has been very important to me. I really look at it as medicine, but I also really want to, I'm really concerned about social equity, enforcement and some of the illegal shops, because I met with some dispensaries and they have issues or concerns and things that they'd like us to look at. But, as I continue and understand what I am into right now, we can discuss that later, but I'm very honored and thank you, commissioners, for bringing this department where it's at today. It started with nothing, and our previous executive director left us with the department, and now it's time to keep moving forward as we have been doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to go over some housekeeping items before we start the meeting. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is being conducted virtually via Zoom and is being live streamed on DCR's website. Individuals who wish to watch this meeting may do so by visiting cannabis.lacity.org and clicking the About menu item on the top. Under the About menu, click the Commission Meetings link. Scroll down to the bottom of the Commission Meetings page to find the live stream. Parties interested may also listen to this meeting by calling council phone at 213-621-2489 or 818-904-9450 and selecting the number for this meeting. Members of the public who want to offer public comment may call one of the two toll-free numbers, 877-853-5257 or 888-475-4499 and enter meeting ID 860-838-7310. These numbers can also be found on the agenda for this meeting. Agendas for today's meeting can be found on the department's website at cannabis.lacity.org and navigating to the commission page under the About menu. This meeting is being recorded. Therefore, we ask commissioners, department staff, and members of the public to please state your name clearly when you speak. The audio file will be posted online within 48 hours of the meeting. If you are in the Zoom call when the item you wish to speak on is called, please press *9 to get on the speaking queue. The commission executive assistant will call out each speaker by the last 4 digits of their phone number to identify the caller. The caller will be prompted to unmute themselves by dialing *6. If there are no other items you wish to speak on, you may disconnect from this call and view the meeting via the live stream or dial council phone to listen only. We will be following the agenda order. Today's presentation to the commission will be available on a department website within 2 business days from this meeting. We will consider general public comment and single or multiple agenda items together. Therefore, speakers will have 1 minute for general public comment and 1 minute per item with a maximum of 2 minutes for multiple items. We ask that speakers state whether they are providing general public comment and or which other item or items they are speaking on before they begin to comment so that staff can appropriately time them. If the speaker does not specify which items they are speaking on, 1 minute will be provided. We will now open general public comment and single or multiple agenda items. Speakers can address the commission on non-agenda related items that are within the jurisdiction of the commission, or provide public comment for items in today's comment by dialing *9 on your telephone. Also, if you are listening on the live stream and have called to provide public comment, please mute the live stream audio before you begin speaking to eliminate feedback. Commissioners and staff, I ask that you please mute your microphones. Ms. Treviso, please call the first speaker.
If anyone wishes to provide public comment, please dial *9. Caller with phone number ending in 2444, please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi there. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi, this is my name is Tony Fong. I'm a local resident, and I also work in the Tahunga area too. I have concerns about a new dispensary opening up close to a preschool nearby on Foothill Boulevard. It also has a very it's called the bubblegum dispensary. It's color pink and light blue like a circus. I feel it's very inappropriate, to have a store next to or very close to YMCA and within a couple 100 feet of a preschool and church. A lot of the neighbors that I talk to, do not like the idea of having a dispensary in that location. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. If anyone wishes to provide public comment, please dial *9. Vice President Mason, I don't see any callers on the queue.
Well, thank you everyone for your comments. Both the general public comment agenda item and the single or multiple agenda item periods are now closed. Commissioners, you should have received an advanced calendar. You should have that in front of you with our future meeting dates. Please take a look and advise if there are any planned absences from any of the commissioners. Hearing no planned absences, we will move on to the approval of the previous meeting's minutes. We were sent the meetings of the September 1st, 2022 special meeting for a review. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting's minutes?
Motion to approve.
And that motion came from?
Commissioner Crockett.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Naro, I second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Naro. Please call the roll, Ms. Treviso.
Commissioner Crockett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Naro, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Figueroa Villa, how do you vote?
She wasn't present. This is Vice President Mason. She's ineligible to vote.
Okay. Vice President Mason, how do you vote?
Vice President Mason votes aye.
The vote is 3-0 and the motion passes.
Thank you, Ms. Treviso. We are now moving on to commission announcements and updates. Commissioners, are there any announcements and updates?
None on my end. This is Commissioner Crockett. None on my end.
Thank you. Commissioner Nara?
No, I mean, I just want to welcome Figueroa Villa again, Commissioner Figueroa Villa. I follow you in many ways, your work in the community, so it's an honor that you're here with us. Thank you.
Oh, no, Victor, I feel the same way with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Nara. Hearing no other announcements or updates, we are going to move on to future agenda items. Commissioners, are there any future agenda items you would like to request at this time? Okay, hearing no requests, we will move on to item number 2, the finding to continue teleconference meetings pursuant to AB 361. AB 361 requires that all legislative bodies make findings concerning the state of emergency stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic to continue holding virtual meetings. Do I have a motion to approve and continue teleconference meetings pursuant to AB 361?
Can I just jump in there and make the motion? This is Sandra Figueroa.
You may.
I move that the commission determine in accordance with AB 361, Section 3E3, that this legislative body has considered the circumstances of the state of emergency and that the state of emergency continues to directly impact the ability of the members to meet safely in person, and our state or local officials continue to impose or recommend measures to promote social distancing.
Thank you, Commissioner Figueroa Villa. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Naro, oh, sorry. As Commissioner Naro, I second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Narl. Mr. Vizel, please call the roll.
Commissioner Figueroa Villa, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Naro, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Crockett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice President Mason, how do you vote?
Aye.
The vote is 4-0 and the motion passes.
Thank you. We're moving on to item 3, the report from the Interim Executive Director. Ms. Garakian, do you have a presentation today?
Indeed, it's going to be verbal though. I shall begin then. I just want to begin by welcoming our newest commissioner, Commissioner Figueroa Villa. It is my pleasure to welcome you. It is our honor to have you sit on this commission. I know our new commissioner will likely not talk about herself, so if you don't mind, I'm going to talk a little bit about you to introduce you to our folks and speak about your background, which I think is very important. And at this point in our history with the DCR, I think it's wonderful that you have decided to join this commission. Commissioner Villa is a lifelong resident of the city of Los Angeles. She was born and raised in South LA. She began her community activism and social justice issues, graduated from Roosevelt, and she continued her activism at Cal State LA. She has almost 40 years experience working in the public sector. She helped found the El Centro de Pueblo, which provides services to improve quality of life for children, youth, and families. She has a lot of experience working with the city, adjacent to the city, and as a commissioner, and if I believe correctly, Commissioner Figueroa, you served on multiple commissions throughout your time here. Under the Garcetti administration, she served as a police commissioner and on several subcommittees, including homelessness and use of force. She was instrumental in leading the Police Commission's efforts to adopt new policy on guiding police officer interactions with people experiencing homelessness, and helped develop a new use of force policy, emphasizing de-escalating situations before resorting to deadly force. As a commissioner on our commission, she's very interested in cannabis and adult recreational use, medicinal use, and she's going to continue to do what she's done for 30 years, I believe, and work to assist folks in the community, help determine how social equity will be implemented, and focus on safety issues as they relate to cannabis. So thank you very much, Commissioner Figueroa. It's an honor to have you here. And yeah, I'm going to move on to my report, of course. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And I just want to affirm before I begin, can everybody hear me? Because I've had audio issues. A thumbs up. If you...
And it comes and goes.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right. I'm going to try and stay close. And feel free to interrupt me if you guys can't hear me. I can begin anew. I want to say to everybody that's joining us today, for my staff on the phone, for our commissioners here, thank you for joining us. My name is Michelle Garakian. I currently serve as the Interim Executive Director for the City of Los Angeles Department of Cannabis Regulation, otherwise known as DCR. I want to spend some moments providing you guys with a brief update on the work that DCR has accomplished in the last few months. I'm going to start with licensing. This is going to be very brief because Jason is going to go into this in a more in-depth way. Right now, there are 682 commercial cannabis business premises that have temporary approval to operate in the city. Many businesses have vertically integrated parts of their operation of authorization for more than one activity type. There are 1,347 total temporary approvals that have been issued to date. Of that number, DCR has issued 399 social equity commercial cannabis licenses and is currently processing an additional 354 social equity commercial cannabis license applications. Approximately 30% of all active commercial cannabis licenses have been issued to social equity businesses. If the license issued to EMMDs, i.e. phase one businesses, are excluded, 45.5% of all active commercial cannabis licenses have been issued to social equity businesses. 66 phase 3 retail round 1 businesses have received temporary approval, and 34 phase 3 retail round 1 businesses have the status of local compliance underway. 100% of the retail commercial cannabis business licenses issued after phase 1 have been issued to social equity businesses. The licensing map on the DCR website was updated at the end of August and includes the latest sensitive use information available for those folks listening on the phone or joining us today via Zoom. Some other updates on licensing. DCR continues to work with the Office of Finance to streamline DCR's permit fee structure and activity list within LDAX or LA tax or LA tax. DCR will streamline payment processing and implement an e-payment solution within the DCR portal. It has done and will continue to do that by June 30th, 2023. Together, we have reduced the number of unique permit codes from 21 to 8 and fee codes from 34 to 7. We are also working on an updated fee study, so you're probably going to likely see additional fees consolidated. Streamlining the process, the payment process and the types of payments accepted will reduce processing timelines and allow DCR personnel to begin working on new records more expeditiously. DCR and Finance have also established an expedited process to facilitate the assignment of new BTRC numbers to applicants. The previous system of creating BTRC accounts, verifying information between DCR and Finance records, and recording payments to begin an application took weeks to perform. However, under the new process, completed BTRC applications may now be submitted to DCR through dcrlicensing@lacity.org email. DCR will forward the completed BTRC applications to Finance Cannabis Support Unit. Finance will then issue a BTRC number, and DCR will forward the information to the applicant, and the applicant may submit their legal entity record to DCR. We have several events that have been taking place in the last few months. Most notably are the technical assistance webinars in anticipation of phase 3 retail round 2 lottery. These began, the first one began on August 31st, and the second one took place on September 14th, 2022. Additional webinars are set for September 28th and October 12th. DCR continues to email more than 1,200 individuals who requested to be verified as a social equity individual applicant to alert them of these technical assistance webinars and how these webinars will prepare them for lottery registration and the lottery with dates and topics and very important info for everybody. So if you are listening on the phone right now, or you're joining us via Zoom and you applied to be verified in this round, please, please, please attend these technical registration webinars. You can RSVP on our website, and please watch out for those emails. Jason Colleen, who's our Assistant Executive Director, continues hosting monthly virtual Q&A webinars. These are very popular. We've had 5 webinars since May 2022. On September 15th, DCR held a special edition of the virtual lunch and focus on BTRC certificates and legal business entity records. That particular event has been archived and can be found on our website. The next virtual Q&A lunch will be held at noon on October 6th. Strongly encourage all folks in our atmosphere and universe to attend. Touching on social equity, I don't want to go too far into this because Dr. Brown, who's on this call today, is going to be providing a very robust presentation as well as some exciting announcements. But as you guys already know, DCR has received approximately 1,200 verification requests under LAMC section 104.06.1 parentheses C. DCR has until at least October 23rd to review all the verification requests under this code. DCR has all hands on deck reviewing these requests and expects to complete these reviews ahead of schedule. DCR plans to administer the Phase 3 Retail Round 2 lottery in winter, consistent with timelines articulated in the LAMC or LA Municipal Code. Verified social equity individual applicants may participate in other licensing opportunities outside Phase 3 Retail Round 2. There continues to be pro bono legal assistance offered for verified social equity program applicants. And for those who are going to be getting verified, please visit our website for more information on that. We have some great upcoming social equity program events. The BLC program released its September Canna Dispatch that features, it's a newsletter that goes out every month. It featured opportunities for SEIAs, talks about a variety of different events that are taking place, etc. It's archived on our website as well. I encourage folks to visit and check it out. The BLC program, which is only available to verified social equity applicants, also offers about 300 hours of free business, professional, and workforce development, one-on-one coaching from experts from a wide range of subject matter expertise. This helps complement the suite of videos that we provide in the learning management system. Pretty incredible resource for folks that are verified social equity applicants that are either going through our process or would like to open a cannabis business and or actually have opened a cannabis business, would like to learn more. For communications and outreach, I want to talk a little bit about a very important event that's going to be coming up in the next few weeks, which is going to be a perfect dovetail into our next presentation. But DCR has been hearing a lot of feedback from emails, our complaint portal, from our city council members, from individuals who have called into this meeting and to meetings previous about enforcement of unauthorized commercial cannabis activity in the city of Los Angeles. To that end, DCR is going to be partnering with LAPD to host a series of virtual town halls called Cannabis in Your Community, partnering on progressive enforcement. The aim of this event is to engage communities on illegal cannabis activity in their neighborhoods and receive input as the city considers new progressive strategies on enforcement. The presentation will include how DCR, the LAPD, and other city departments work together to enforce cannabis laws. There will be 3 town halls held virtually across the city, serving a different region. These dates are Town Hall 1 is going to be Central, and that is going to be on October 11th at 6 p.m. Town hall number 2 is going to be in represent the South region of Los Angeles. That's going to be on October 27th at 6 p.m. And town hall number 3 is going to represent the Valley and the West, and that's going to be on November 10th at 6 p.m. We invite everybody to attend. Anybody who is interested, anybody who has concerns about cannabis, anybody thoughts about cannabis to attend. We are doing a very comprehensive outreach to the neighborhood councils, to SLOs, to council districts. We're working with the Office of Neighborhood Empowerment to ensure that these events are posted on next doors and local Facebook groups. So I really encourage folks to attend. And with that, that is the conclusion of my presentation. Any questions from commissioners or? Hi, Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for this great presentation. The last 2 weeks and even today, the governor has signed a series of bills that focuses on this industry. And is there anything that we should be know right now about any of the new legislation that's been signed by the governor?
There is a lot of activity that has taken place in the past few weeks from the governor's office. It is very exciting that he signed some bills. Some of them are around curbing excise tax for social equity applicants. One of the most exciting things that he actually signed was prohibiting employers from firing or not hiring employees who have tested positive for cannabinoid metabolites in their urine, in hair samples, and in other testing techniques. So that's very exciting. There's only a few exemptions to that law. That's something that DCR definitely was advocating for, and we're happy to see. The DCR is actually going to be remitting some concepts to the mayor's office tomorrow in regards to our preferred 2023-2024 state and federal legislative priorities. So what we are, I'm happy that you asked about this. We are going to be advocating for a few things, and if you have a second, I'd like to just address that. One of them is for the extension of the provisional deadline for state applications for social equity individual applicants. That is very important. We are going to be continuing to advocate for further tax reduction, credit or moratorium, and additional fee waivers, deferrals for SEIA operators. We think more can be done. We are going to be advocating for the state and the feds to consider lending equity and access to business loans. This is very important because access to capital is very minimal in this area. And then we are going to be supporting the MORE Act, the federal level, and though we think the Safe Banking Act is a great start, we do recognize that there are definitely necessary changes that are needed to that particular piece of legislation before it moves forward.
Okay, I just have one quick follow-up question. I never could, and maybe this is something I should have asked a long time ago, but you know, the governor also signed legislation about expediting and really digging deeper into the expungement process under Prop 64. Does the DLC have any role in that, or is that just basically if that's the role more of the city attorney's office?
It's actually, and Taylor, if you want to hop in here, it's my understanding it's more of actually the DA. And not necessarily the city attorney's office. The DCR does not play a role in expungement efforts, but we do feature access and information about expungement efforts on our website. And we certainly encourage folks who have past cannabis convictions or arrests to visit those resources and determine how they can best be utilized for themselves. We're also going to be having our newsletter go out in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to be providing an update on all of the governor's, all the stuff that he signed. So folks are aware kind of what made it through. There was about, from my understanding, I think there was about last legislative session, probably like 107 different cannabis bills that came through the Assembly and the Senate. Not many made it out, but those that did, I think, are very important. So.
Before I jump in with a question, do any other commissioners have a question? Okay, I am pleased to hear about the virtual town halls that you all would be having. And my question had to do with the use of other or of media outlets to publicize the town halls. Is there any discussion or regarding that or plans to do so, especially when it comes to regional, at least placing ads in regional newspapers?
These are all fantastic ideas, and you will be receiving an email, Vice President Mason, in regards to seeing how we can get the word out on certain radio stations. I will talk with the communications team after this about more targeted outreach in the community around either purchasing or placing ads in various local newspapers or websites to help get more folks involved. But I catch your drift. I'm onto it. I will be reaching out to you now.
Thank you so much. I believe we're finished here. So thank you everyone for chiming in. Thank you, Director Garakian, for your report. We're moving on to item 4, which is the report from the Los Angeles Police Department. I believe Detective Chechia is speaking today.
How you doing, ma'am? No, it's Detective Boyles. I'm going to take over for
Okay.
Detective
Thank you.
Cecil.
Welcome.
How are you doing? This is the first time I've been on this meeting, so I just want to introduce myself. I'm Detective Boyles. Been on LAPD for 23 years, and I came into the Cannabis Support Unit in January. So I just wanted to say hello, and you'll see me on here occasionally now. I just want to go over our enforcement efforts against the unlicensed cannabis locations. Right now, if people don't know, what happens is if there's a complaint against an unlicensed location, our narcotics units will coordinate with us and will verify the location with DCR. If this location that they're investigating is verified that it's an unlicensed location, we have a progressive enforcement strategy that we use, and that's what the slide is. We'll start with our first will be a cease and desist letter. We'll send that out to the location. If they continue to operate after that, our narcotics units will go do a utility disconnect, usually in conjunction with the search warrant, and take all of the items out of there and try and shut the location down. If the locations reopen after that, the same location, and they're a nuisance problem and they refuse to shut down, after the second, now we can start with the padlock ordinance, which is we'll come in there with a search warrant, disconnect the power, and then at the end of the search warrant, building and safety will come out with us, and they will board up the whole location, and there'll be one lock and key, and the supervisor of the respective narcotics area will come in, and the only one who'll get access to that location is the property owner, and then they'll have to work with the deputy mayor's office, DCR, to get their licensing status or get their place back open again. And typically that's all illegal activity has ceased. If we go to the next slide, I can go over the stats for what we got for our unlicensed locations this year. So this is 2022 year to date for just the illegal locations that we're enforcing on. We've recovered about $2.7 million in currency seized. We've recovered 65,921 pounds of cannabis. Our units have conducted 231 search warrants. We've had 25 independent investigations. Our cannabis-related arrests are at 413, 208 of those being felony and 205 are misdemeanors. Like I discussed earlier, one of our progressive enforcements is the utility disconnects. We've had 149 year to date. We're up to 12 padlock and board up locations that are closed. Slide doesn't show up, but we have 7 pending right now, 2 next week. We've issued 158 cease and desist letters, and currently we stand at 86 unlicensed cannabis locations throughout the city of Los Angeles. And with our search warrants, we've recovered 68 handguns, 17 rifles, and 2 shotguns from these locations. And that's all I have for my report.
Thank you, Detective Boyles. Are there any questions from the commissioners for the detective?
I do. I have a couple.
Hello, ma'am. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the structure of the LAPD's enforcement. And you did mention earlier there is a cannabis support unit. And who heads that unit, please?
The guy you're talking to right now. Yes, ma'am. It's myself. I have a police officer that works with me, and I have an analyst. And what we do is we coordinate with DCR, with Building and Safety, LAFD, and any information, I distribute that out to our 21 narcotics divisions.
Okay, and then as I understood from Michelle, I guess the department has divided up some of the work in all the different divisions, the narcotics division. So you partner up with whoever division that's into to work what you just described out then, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. We have 4 different.
You decentralized everything.
Well, we have 21 divisions and we have 4 different bureaus. So what we'll do is, honestly, it's the 21 divisions. We'll go out and assist whichever division, whichever area the problem is at. So the 21 different narcotics units all handle whatever unlicensed locations are in their area.
Okay, and my last question is, I have the articles that were out in the in the LA Times this last couple of weeks. There was one about, well, I got a couple of texts, you know, why doesn't the DA file on these? It's wrong. People put in millions to start these businesses, and yet you have this. So what's happening with that? You talked about, and I'm just trying to understand all these processes. Okay, so you talked about 208 felonies and 205 misdemeanors. Does a DA file on these? And then what happens to them? I know back in the day, a friend of mine this happened to them and they were arrested, but then they were released on bail and then they started up somewhere else, but they're licensed now, so they're all good. But
Yes.
That was before we had a lot of these regulations. It was just starting up. So tell me about the DA and what happens to the community when they're illegal and all. And I understand why we're doing this. So.
Yes, ma'am. So what'll happen is felony or misdemeanor, and typically the felony that we arrest on is running an illegal drug house. That's a wobbler. So all the felonies get referred down or get pushed down to misdemeanor. So everything goes to the city attorney's office. Yeah. So, and then after that, the enforcement is typically it's coming with a lot of fines, and it'll get pushed over to ACE citations also, which are basically a fine. So the vast, and this is just what I know, ma'am. I've been here for 9 months. So what I've seen is the city attorney's office does all of the enforcement. I don't think a lot of jail time that comes out of this. It's mostly fines and penalties like that. So a lot of the guys who do get arrested are out pretty quickly. And that's how some of these locations, like I said, that have repeat search warrants and stuff like that, they'll just open right back up. and then our guys have to go serve a search warrant, take all their stuff, close them down. And honestly, the best enforcement practice that we have that works is when we get a hold of the property owner. When we can actually get a hold of the property owner and discuss this with them, and hopefully before a padlock, they'll come on board, kick the people out, and then that'll shut down that location.
Okay, I have more later as I come to meetings. I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Yes, Commissioner Naro.
Yes, hi. Thank you again for your presentation. I noticed it's only 12 padlocks and board ups, and I was hoping there would have been a higher number. Is it because the process of getting one is so burdensome? Like, why are there only 12?
No, honestly, we were stuck for about 4 months on, let me do this math in my head real fast. We were stuck at 7 for a long time. And we added 3 because right off the bat, because as soon as they sent out the 10-day notice that they're going to shut down, or they're going to padlock the location, those locations closed and never reopened. So that happened. And then just right now, I can't say specifically why, but all of these are ramping up, because when we were at 7 for a few months, I was sending out notices to the guys to let's pick it up. And then within the last month, it's kind of exploded. Like I said, we have 12 right now, we have 7 pending and 2 next week. So it's not the process. What I've seen is some areas are busy with a lot of locations. Some haven't done them before and they're a little tentative. The one I'm doing next week, I kind of had to walk the guy through the process because there is a lot of steps, but it's needed. But that's what the cannabis support unit's for. I'll walk them through each step, and once they figure it out, it's honestly a pretty simple process. And Department of Building Safety does a wonderful job. Like once they're out there, the one that we had last week in Pacific, the detective supervisor was raving about just how easy it was. So I think and honestly, sir, this is still a new process. We just started this last year. So a lot of these supervisors are still learning the process. It's just more steps they have to learn. But I can see in the future, these still picking up for the ones that are not closing.
Okay, thank you so much for the information. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questioners from Commissioner Crockett? I have no questions today. Hearing no other questions, we will move on to item 5 on the agenda, a report on the department's compliance and enforcement program. Is there a presentation from staff?
Good afternoon, Commissioner Mason. I can go ahead and prepare and present the information on behalf of Rocky because unfortunately she's unavailable. My name is Jason Kleen. I'm an Assistant Executive Director within the Department of Cannabis Regulation. The Compliance and Enforcement Division, which is headed by Rocky Wiles, has triaged 1,350 complaints received via the DCR licensing complaint portal since January of 2021. Of the 1,350 complaints, 847 were referred to the LAPD. 344 complaints were either resolved, referred to another jurisdiction, or not related to commercial cannabis activity. And 159 complaints were under investigation or review by the Compliance and Enforcement Division. DCR is in the process of amending LAMC Section 104.13 to reorganize existing provisions to establish a progressive enforcement strategy and to facilitate efforts by the CED to encourage compliance with DCR's rules and regulations for licensed businesses. In addition, DCR is revising its rules and regulations to strengthen them and provide more procedural clarity about administrative violations, penalties, and appeals. DCR plans to secure a consultant who will conduct an enforcement disparity analysis as part of DCR's proposal that secured the Prop 64 Public Health and Safety Grant. DCR allocated $100,000 for a public research institute or university to conduct a robust analysis of existing cannabis enforcement related activities based on data collected by the LAPD and the impact of enforcement activities on each community. The Los Angeles County Department of Public Health is also accepting applications from licensees that would request a site evaluation for retail commercial cannabis activities in order to obtain a county public health permit or for the county's emblem placard program. The emblem placard signifies that the business is authorized to conduct retail storefront commercial cannabis activities and that it is in compliance and is current with all state, county, and city applicable license permits and authorizations. I just want to thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, I'll be available to answer them. Rocky and I will be doing interviews for her 4 vacant positions over the next several weeks. Next week, we're looking at our senior management analyst candidates, which would fill 2 of her positions. And then when we finish those interviews, we will be starting to interview candidates for the management analyst positions within the Cannabis and Enforcement Division.
Thank you, Assistant Director Colleen. I did have a question before I open it up to the other commissioners. Have we heard back from the county on when they will be rolling out the emblems?
So the county is accepting site evaluation requests from licensed retail storefront businesses. To date, only one of the city's businesses has qualified and received their emblem placard. They do have a queue. Unfortunately, the number of folks that have voluntarily submitted information to the county to participate has been lower than anticipated. And the county is looking to move into stage 2, which involves them starting to do the public health permit reviews for non-retail storefront activities and making that available. So Rocky does plan to send out a reminder email to all of our licensed retail storefronts to let them know that it's in their best interest to take advantage of the reduced requirements for the site evaluation process, as opposed to waiting and having to go through the plan check review through the public health, as well as a site evaluation. However, as we've done webinars and technical assistance workshops for our businesses, we have made it clear that the site evaluation process is a one-time chance to go through a streamlined process. And if they don't pass the site evaluation, they will be then referred back to the plan check review process and then have to go through the county public health full process. So on one hand, businesses that know that they can comply with the county's requirements are starting to engage the county so that they can qualify for their emblem. And then hopefully businesses that have not engaged with the county yet are making sure that their facilities meet the standards required by the county, and then they'll go ahead and get their site evaluation request in.
Thank you. So I guess in some ways I could understand the hesitancy, because in order to receive the emblem, another layer of bureaucracy and compliance has been inserted into an already cumbersome process. Are we receiving feedback? Has there been any outreach, or have we received any feedback about why people are not yet participating in a more robust number?
At the local level, the public health permit is not a requirement within our local regulatory program until somebody qualifies for the annual application process. And a number of our licensed businesses are going through the environmental review process, and we're working with environmental consultants to do that CEQA analysis. And then, of course, once the environmental review is completed, folks will have the opportunity to submit their annual application, at which point businesses will have to meet the requirements for the public health permits in order to have the complete annual application and then be able to move forward with a recommendation to either the director or to this commission. So I think on one hand, we have received feedback that businesses are working with building and safety to make sure that their certificate of occupancy and all their permits are up to standard, because the county does require them to be in good standing with building and safety. And then on the other hand, some businesses understand that they don't need to do this for another 3 to 6 months, and they'll cross that bridge when they need to cross that bridge.
Understood. Thank you. Commissioners, are there any other questions for Assistant Director Colleen on this item? Okay, hearing no other questions, then we are going to move on to item 6 on the agenda, which is a report from Dr. Brown on the Social Equity Program.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And good afternoon, commissioners, and welcome to the newest member of the CRC, Commissioner Figueroa Villa. I want to welcome you today. I'll be providing an overview of the social equity program's resources and benefits this afternoon. Next slide, please. As a reminder, I always begin my presentation with the mission statement of the department. The mission statement is what guides our policies and work effort every day. The mission of the social equity program is to promote equitable ownership and employment opportunities in the cannabis industry in order to decrease disparities in life outcomes for marginalized communities and to address the disproportionate impacts of the war on drugs in those communities. Next slide. And now I'll provide updates in terms of our business licensing compliance and technical assistance program. Next, please. Our benefits and our resources include application processing, business licensing compliance and technical assistance programs, pro bono and low bono legal services, and our seed rental grant program. Our BLC program is designed to provide the resources and training to applicants and licensees to navigate the licensure process. It allows our entrepreneurs to stand up their businesses and provide training for our workforce development initiative. Next, please. In 2022 alone, we have hosted 6 monthly beachside chats with international technology experts, 32 live webinars covering all topics relevant to running a successful licensed commercial cannabis business. We're also offering 300 hours of one-on-one business, professional, and workforce development coaching. Additionally, in 2021, we launched the Learning Management System, or as we kindly refer to it as our LMS, which contains 100 hours of self-paced educational content and live webinars. Now, this site is available exclusively to our verified social equity individual applicants. They have access to a comprehensive digital platform of information on topics such as marketing and branding, insurance requirements, commercial leasing and contracts negotiation, track and trace, licensing procedures, cannabis technology applications, workforce development training, and good faith hiring requirements, and much more. Next, please. The department opened the individual eligibility verification window from May 26th to July 25th, and staff is currently working diligently to review the 1,275 submissions. After the review process is complete, all newly verified social equity individual applicants will have immediate access to all program benefits and resources. The department provided comprehensive training for the verification process. DCR conducted 64 one-on-one coaching sessions. The 3 webinars, as Michelle mentioned earlier, were conducted May 10th, May 24th, and June 14th. In addition, Mr. Colleen hosted 3 virtual lunchtime Q&A sessions, answering stakeholder questions in real time regarding the verification process, along with 2 technical assistance webinars in August and September. DCR also produced a video tutorial which walked applicants through the verification request form step by step. We also published an eligibility checklist for requesters to use as they compiled their documents. Overall, the process was seamless, and we have received a positive feedback from the community regarding that process. Next slide, please. In addition to the verification eligibility process, SCP team is currently developing a standalone website for the Business Licensing Compliance and Technical Assistance Program. We're really excited about that. On this site, you will be able to access the LMS, pro bono and low bono services, our webinar registrations, and more. In addition to that, the new BLC website will house additional resources such as the newly revamped Jobs Board, which will allow job seekers to find career opportunities at licensed cannabis businesses, and also allow our licensed operators to find social equity, local, and transitional workers. This feature will also support licensed operators to comply with their good faith hiring requirements. Once the site is ready for launch, we will outreach and market this resource to our stakeholders and community. Also, once it's launched, we will provide a demonstration to this group and walk you through all aspects of the platform. Next, please. Our monthly BLC Canada Dispatch newsletter informs our verified social equity applicants and licensees on the additional resources and webinars offered to them with local, state, and national cannabis news and resources. The September Canada Dispatch includes our fall-winter webinar series, and that was published, and it included webinars on the topics of contracting, identifying funds and raising capital, and commercial leasing and negotiation. We also held 2 beachside chats on tech tools for social equity retail businesses and tech tools for medical cannabis. We hosted a webinar just this Tuesday, the 20th, entitled Leases and Contracts Negotiations Part 2. And the next webinar of this series is on legal business structures, and that will be held tonight, September 22nd from 6 to 7. Next, please. We're excited to announce the fall and winter series of workforce development resources that we call Workforce Wednesdays. On September 14th, we held the first business-to-business virtual mixer. It's a series in which focuses on supply chain information and hiring resources. Employers from businesses and institutions across the cannabis industry provided insight to share experiences and best practices, while social equity team members remained on standby in a virtual Q&A booth to answer any questions. It creates a platform to not only highlight our business licensing and compliance resources, but also puts the spotlight on other operators that inform attendees on workforce development tips, business operations, financial literacy, coaching, and hiring. The event also provided an opportunity for the cannabis companies to connect with job seekers to fill hiring needs from entry level to leadership roles, all while fulfilling their good faith hiring requirements. This was the first of 4 monthly mixers that DCR will be hosting on the second Wednesday of each month through December. Our next mixer is October 12th, 2022. Next. We are thrilled to offer over 300 hours of free business, professional, and workforce development coaching with subject matter experts from a wide range of expertise. Coaching is available in the following business formation categories: commercial leases and negotiation, contracts, and business structures. Next. Additionally, we will offer a full suite of workforce development training for job seekers. We recognize that everyone is not going to be an entrepreneur, and we're really excited about our workforce development initiative. The free coaching for job seekers includes interview training, resume review, resume writing assistance, and mock interviews with coaches. Coaches will also go over with job seekers the skills required for specific careers within the cannabis space, job application processes, and where to find cannabis jobs. Next, please. Our jobs board. DCR is excited to announce the launch of our newly renovated jobs board. We intend for the jobs board to function as a centralized hub for Los Angeles cannabis operators and job seekers to find each other. It will allow job seekers to interact with other organizations at once, as well as have the peace of mind to know that they are applying for positions within a licensed operation. For employers, the job board is intended to support their overall staffing needs, as well as aid in their ability to meet local, transitional, and social equity good faith hiring requirements. Next, please. DCR continues to provide pro bono legal services for retail and delivery only applicants and licensees deemed eligible for further processing. To date, we have referred 50 applicants to the LA County Bar Association Smart Law Referral Service. Communications have been sent to all eligible applicants by email and text messages. If you did not receive this communication but believe that you are eligible, please contact us at dcr.sep@lacity.org and we can assist you. Next, please. This is a screenshot of the page where you can sign up for these services. Please complete the online survey and upload the authorization agreement to complete this process. It's a very simple process to have access to these pro bono legal services. Next, please. In addition, we are offering pro bono legal, in addition to offering pro bono legal services, DCR is preparing for the launch of our new no bono legal services program. With this, folks will be able to receive up to 30 hours of legal consultation and services at a discounted rate at $35 an hour. I know you heard me right, $35 an hour. For many, the time and affordability will be monumental in clarifying and mending the many legal issues applicants present to us daily. We are very excited about this development and we plan to officially launch the program within the next few weeks. Next slide, please. And finally, I would like to remind the Commission that with the funding for the 2022 Cannabis Equity Grant for local jurisdictions, we have worked diligently to develop our rental assistance grant program for verified social equity individual applicants and licensees. In partnership with Elevate Impact LA, we will distribute $5 million to 100 entrepreneurs in 2 separate tiers, Seed 1 and Seed 2. The Seed 1 rental grant funds may be used for the following purposes, and I'll just go through them so you'll understand how it works. They'll be able to use that money to pay rent or a security deposit pursuant to a fully executed commercial lease for the purposes of operating a licensed commercial cannabis storefront retail location. They'll be able to use the funds to finance up to 1 month of back rent due on a fully executed lease. They'll be able to use the money to secure a binding letter of intent by paying the required security deposit for operating a commercial cannabis storefront retail, and to assist with build out or construction costs for the purposes of renovating a location to operate a licensed cannabis commercial storefront retail location. They can use those funds for build out as long as estimates and or unpaid invoices for each construction budget item are submitted with the grant application. Next slide, please. 1.0 will utilize $4 million in funding to provide financial assistance to Phase 3 Retail Round 1 verified social equity applicants and licensees. As part of the application process, we have included an educational requirement component where applicants will access our learning management system, or LMS, to complete 3 academic courses on business planning, leasing and contracts negotiation, and licensing. They will also have the option to complete an elective course outside of the suggested topics if they choose to do so. Applicants will complete a comprehensive quiz on each subject and submit their completion certificates prior to receiving financial disbursements up to $50,000. Next slide, please. Seed 2.0 will utilize $1 million in funding to provide financial assistance to verified social equity applicants who are applying for all other license types who have an executed lease. Seed 2.0 applicants will be required to fulfill 1 educational course requirement on commercial leases and contract negotiations, parts 1 and 2, prior to receiving a grant disbursement of $10,000. Next slide. We will be hosting training webinars to walk applicants through the process once the application period opens. Our goal with this installment of the Cannabis Equity Grant is to assist qualified entrepreneurs with securing and maintaining social equity-owned compliant property and businesses. Awarding people up to $50,000 has the ability to change the trajectory of businesses that are in dire need of rental assistance right now. With that, I'm excited to announce that we will officially launch the Seed Rental Grant Program on September 30th, 2022. And with that, I will turn it back over to Vice President Mason. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Are there any questions from the commissioners at this time?
I have one question. I'm always impressed, Dr. Brown, with your presentations. A lot of good stuff coming out of your program. But then lately, the LA Times and other news outlets have been reporting more negative than positive about social equity and other related programs related to cannabis. Is there a way that, because your work is so important, and I just think, is there a way to communicate some of the stuff that you're doing with, like, outlets like the LA Times and other newspapers?
Now since we have more capacity in terms of our staffing, we do plan to do a robust marketing campaign about some of the new programs that we're launching, and trying to just be more involved in the community, be more participatory in stakeholder events and neighborhood councils and so forth. But we're going to do a major, e-blast and texting, and we're going to do partner with other social media outlets to advertise some of the wonderful things that we're doing. And I do agree with you, Commissioner. We have so many wonderful resources, and we need to do a better job at communicating that and advertising that so people can take advantage of it.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Thank you, Commissioner Narl. Did any other commissioners have questions? All right, Dr. Brown, thank you for your usual and thorough reporting as always. We will move on now to item number 7, which is a report on the licensing program. Is there a presentation from staff?
Yes, Vice President Mason. Good afternoon. Jason Colleen, Assistant Executive Director. On the slide, we have a list of items that will be discussed today. We're going to be discussing a hiring update in our current vacancy rate. We'll be updating on the commission on current and future licensing procedures. DCR implemented a streamlined BTRC registration process in conjunction with the Office of Finance. We've also going to provide an update on the legal entity record. We'll provide an update on the social equity individual applicant eligibility verification and phase 3 retail round 2 procedures and updates, and our future system enhancements. Would you prefer for me to pause after each item so that if the commissioners have questions, we can address the questions when the slides are up, or would you prefer for me to get through the entire presentation before offering up questions?
Thank you for the option. I would prefer that you pause after each item to give the commissioners an opportunity to question. But, well, we do have a commissioner who needs to depart early, so I'm going to strike that. Go ahead with the entire presentation and we'll take questions and answers at the end.
Okay, I will try and be as brief as possible, and then to allow for the most time for questions. So in terms of our hiring update, we have 35 of our 58 authorized positions filled. We have 23 vacant positions, which creates a 39.66% vacancy rate. As I mentioned earlier, we will be interviewing for all 23 vacant positions between next week and the end of the year. We're focusing on the Compliance and Enforcement Division, which is headed by Ms. Wiles. We will also be focused on bringing on managers and supervisors, as well as some of our public relations folks before the end of the calendar year. The Civil Service Commission did allocate an additional 12 positions on August 25th, and those positions are now available for hiring. So we will be looking to fill all of those critical vacancies to the extent possible before the end of the year. we do anticipate that our vacancy rate will fall below 20% before the end of the calendar year. In terms of licensing record types, there's several licensing record types that we have now. We have the legal entity record, we have a pre-application review record, a public convenience or necessity record, we have different application records, temporary approval application record, environmental review record, annual application record, we have a renewal record, and a lottery registration record for phase 3 retail round 2 now. I'm going to briefly run through how Director Garakian has reorganized the work to streamline it and reduce barriers to entry for social equity individual applicants and other applicants prior to having to secure a location. So one of the things the director implemented over the summer was this creation of the legal entity record. And you can see here with the green column, things that are related to the entity, whether it's business formation documents, the primary personnel, the owners, the attestations, can now be done outside of the temporary approval process. What that means is a prospective applicant, whether it's a sole proprietor or a business entity, can go ahead and start submitting paperwork, paying fees, and getting verified either as a general applicant or a social equity applicant before they submit a formal application to the department. The code requires all of these documents anyways, but by pulling this separate piece out that is tied to the entity, they can go through this type of review prior to having to lock down a location and actually execute a lease, which will hopefully save time and money for the applicant, and then also reduce the time between when they submit their temporary approval application and ultimately when they're eligible to receive their temporary approval license. Once the entity record has been created, a business has the opportunity to submit a pre-application review record. And under Director Packer, we had streamlined that process to only require the landowner attestation. So there's a single document by the landlord where the landlord is attesting that there has been no unlicensed commercial cannabis activity or anything else that would disqualify the business premises from consideration for licensure. Then if the pre-application record is deemed eligible for further processing and it's located in an area of undue concentration, the prospective applicant would have the ability to file a public convenience or necessity request with the city council and seek that finding. If they get the finding, DCR can accept an application from them and process it. Once we have the temporary approval application, you can see that I've highlighted here in the yellow column, there's only 2 pink boxes, and everything else are either attestations or the indemnification agreement required by the city. But here you have to provide us evidence of site control, whether it's a lease, a property deed, or other evidence of a legal right to occupy, and your business premises diagram. Those are really the 2 unique time and manner related things for the business premises that we collect as part of the temporary approval process. So the way the director has reformatted our process, it's going to be very streamlined for folks now going forward so that they can get us the attestations and the indemnification agreement, plus these 2 critical documents that are tied to the business premises location. And we should be able to reduce the temporary approval application processing to 30 to 60 days so that folks are only holding on to property for a minimal amount of time before they would otherwise be eligible for licensure. And that's important because as we get closer to administering phase 3 retail round 2, any of the social equity individual applicants selected through that process will only have until March 31st of 2023 to submit a provisional license application to the state with the hopes of getting a provisional license by June 30th of 2023. For any social equity individual applicants that are unable to get a provisional license by June 30th of 2023, they will be routed through the state's annual application process, which will require them to get a local annual license before they can meet the application requirements to receive an annual license from the state. So that could lead to lengthy delays. So the director has been making sure that the licensing team is focused on getting people prepared so that we can quickly turn around the applications and move them through our process so that folks are eligible to apply for their state provisional licenses as quickly as possible. And then, of course, once somebody has temporary approval, they have the ability to submit their final project description and go through environmental review. And then once they've completed the environmental review, they're eligible to go through our annual application process. With the state sunsetting their provisional license process, at some point, it's going to be in the city's best interest to just have a standalone annual application process available to prospective applicants so that they can submit the temporary approval, environmental review, and any additional annual application documents necessary so that they can complete our process as quickly as possible. And DCR has all of the information available to it at the beginning of the application process so that that process will take less time and not be sequential. So that is something that the director will be proposing to policymakers later this year. In terms of the streamlined business tax registration certificate process, one of the biggest delays with new applicants was they hadn't registered for a BTRC. And when they did submit their BTRC application, it was incomplete because they hadn't either registered for an FEIN through the IRS or registered their entity with the California Secretary of State. The business tax registration certificate application does require that information. So when they submit their DCR invoice plus their BTRC application, if it was incomplete, it led to lengthy delays, which applicants didn't understand why it was taking so long to process payments. So DCR worked directly with finance to create a new streamlined process where a prospective business can submit their business tax registration certificate to DCR licensing at lacity.org. Our staff will review the application for completeness. If all of the fields are filled out, we provide that information directly to the Office of Finance. And then the Office of Finance will issue a BTRC number. DCR will communicate that back to the prospective applicant. And then when they create their legal business entity record, that BTRC number will already be there and listed on the invoice, which will help facilitate the payment processing, as well as ensure that the applicant has met all of finance's requirements prior to DCR working on their application. So this is all done to streamline our process and reduce some of the roadblocks and time delays that applicants had been receiving. So this is something that came from feedback when the communications team was doing stakeholder input in conjunction with our social equity team. I have some helpful links here. The city, the Office of Finance has a business certificate application form. They also have an FAQ available on their website. When this presentation is published, these will be clickable links that folks can navigate directly to. We've shared this information as part of our technical assistance webinars. The Internal Revenue Service, or IRS, also has information about starting a business. And the California Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development has a permit and regulatory assistance program that will help entrepreneurs understand what the permitting and regulatory requirements are for any given field. And this is something, because of the dual licensing nature of commercial cannabis activity, that may be helpful for our applicants so that they understand also what the state requirements are so that they can quickly navigate through the state's process. This is just a copy of the business tax registration certificate application. It does require the legal entity name, the business premises address. If folks do not have a physical business premises address, they are able to provide an address tied to a residential property or the home office of their particular business. And once they do identify a proposed business premises address that'll be listed on our application, they do have the ability to go back to the Office of Finance and amend the address associated with their BTRC account. We also have created a legal entity record so that we can facilitate the collection of business-related documentation and review before an application gets submitted. These are some of the documents that take longer to review, and there's often inconsistencies between what's submitted in terms of the documentation as well as the record created. So what we did was we pulled this out of the temporary approval process and made it a standalone process so that folks could go through this process without having secured a property, so they're not incurring expenses as we do this review. And at the same time, the director created a process that allowed for social equity applicants to do their equity share review prior to having to secure a location. And then, of course, once they've completed that social equity review, that review would be good for any application submitted under that legal entity record. So folks can create a legal entity record by clicking on apply for a license. Then when they're provided with the different record types, they would just click on the business legal entity record and then click the little radio button next to legal business entity application. And then on this screen, you would provide your ACA reference ID for the legal business entity. You can select whether or not you want to go through the equity share review. You can provide your BTRC master account number, which is a 10-digit number. And then you can provide your California Secretary of State entity number. And then you can identify whether or not you want to designate an authorized agent to be able to submit forms on behalf of the applicant or the licensee. So we've tried to create a process that can facilitate the intake, get vetted before people actually have to make concrete business decisions associated with securing a location, in the hopes of simplifying the process and then reducing the timeline from when an application, a temporary approval application or annual application is submitted to the time DCR can consider whether or not to issue a license to that business. The critical things for creating a legal business entity record: you have to have an ACI ID for the associated legal business entity. If you want to request equity share review, you can. It's not required. But if you are going to be applying for a commercial cannabis activity that is limited to a social equity applicant, you do need to go through that equity share review. And even if we haven't completed the review for your particular entity, as long as it shows pending review, you will be able to apply for activities such as cultivation or non-storefront delivery, which are limited to social equity applicants through January 1st of 2025. You do have to have a BTRC account. When you start submitting records, you will be required to pay fees. So if you don't have a BTRC account or you haven't submitted a complete BTRC application, it leads to payment processing delays, which have frustrated our applicants. So in order to facilitate that, we've now created that streamlined BTRC, and you do have to have a BTRC in order to create these records, and you do have to have a legal entity record in order to submit an application at this point. Because we do communicate with the state, it's important to have your Secretary of State entity number, because we want to make sure that when we communicate with the state, we're talking about the same legal entity. And then, of course, you have the ability to designate an authorized agent so that they can be added to the record, and we can do the form review for the authorized agent prior to you submitting a record. The legal entity record will also allow the business to identify owners, primary personnel, and if applicable, their authorized agent. They can upload all required ownership, primary personnel, business formation documents, operating agreements, and if applicable, social equity application specific information documents and forms. If they request the equity share review, they will be required to upload social equity application specific information documents and forms, including the social equity owner attestations. DCR, of course, will generate an invoice for applicable fees based on the selections made during the intake process. Because this is a new record type and we do have existing applicants and licensees who have paid temporary approval fees, which would otherwise be covered by the document review associated with the creation of this record, we are not automatically invoicing people at this time. As part of the 2023 renewal process, folks are required to create their legal entity record. The goal is not to charge them for uploading the documents associated with their business entity, because that information has already been vetted by the department. But for folks that are new to our process that will be paying reduced temporary approval application fees later this year, they will be charged the associated a la carte fees for the document review. And then when they submit their temporary approval application, they will only be paying for the the document fees associated with that particular process. So folks may get lengthier invoices moving forward until such time that the city council and the mayor consider an updated fee study, which creates standalone fees for these streamlined processes. Now to give you an update on our social equity individual applicant eligibility verification, we received 1,275 eligibility verification requests. Based on a review, 119 of those requests were duplicative. 365 of the requests have gone through the first level review, which is the analyst review. 182 of the requests have gone through both the analyst review as well as the supervisory review. So in total, DCR has completed a review of approximately 301 social equity individual applicant eligibility verification requests. And that's the sum of the secondary level reviews plus the duplicate reviews. Additionally, staff and supervisors have recommended that 74 of the eligibility verification requests have not met the criteria for the requester to be considered a social equity individual applicant. Anything where the department believes that the requester may be ineligible as a social equity individual applicant goes through a third layer of review, and it goes personally through my review. So as you can see, there's 74 records that are pending my review. And to date, I haven't confirmed or overturned what the analyst and supervisor's findings are. We will be transmitting the first set of eligibility verification communications on Friday, September 30th. So folks that have completed our process will get communication at that time as to what their standing is. And then of course, for folks that haven't been verified by September 30th, DCR will continue to send out email communications about their status on a rolling basis. This is all part of DCR's ability to administer Los Angeles Municipal Code Section 104061C, which is commonly referred to as the Phase 3 Retail Round 2 application process. In order for folks to participate in Phase 3 Retail Round 2, the individual must be verified as a social equity individual applicant under the expanded social equity criteria listed under Municipal Code Section 10420B1. And the social equity individual applicant's verification must include a qualifying California cannabis arrest or conviction prior to November 8th, 2016. Arrest, prosecution, or conviction for a violation of Proposition B is not considered a California cannabis arrest or conviction. It does not preclude somebody from meeting the criteria for arrest or conviction. However, that specific citation cannot be used as the qualifying arrest or a conviction. DCR also has to provide 45 days of technical assistance before we can open up the lottery registration process. We began providing technical assistance on August 31st. To date, we have completed technical assistance webinar number 1 and webinar number 2. Next Wednesday on September 28th, we will be doing webinar number 3, which is a step-by-step instruction on how to register for the lottery. We will be sharing screen prints as well as the formal process for registration. So folks that do intend to register for the lottery should tune in. All webinars are recorded and posted on DCR's website. So if anybody's missed any of the webinars, they can go to our website and actually access the information and watch the videos. We'll also be doing a 4th webinar on October 12th, which will be an overview of webinars 1 through 3, as well as an open question and answer session regarding the Phase 3 Retail Round 2 lottery registration process. Of course, webinar number 4 will be conducted prior to the opening of the lottery registration. So that will be an opportunity for folks to come in and ask any questions before the process opens. DCR is processing 1,275 social equity individual applicant eligibility verification requests. We will be We will complete processing by Sunday, October 23rd, 2022, which is the 90th day, which is the minimum period of time DCR has in order to process all of these requests. So I am happy to report that because my team is working overtime and other folks from other divisions, including the social equity program and the compliance unit and communications team are participating in this eligibility review, we will be completed within the 90 days. And then the director will have the ability to move the process forward because the processing will be completed and DCR would have provided at least the 45 days of technical assistance required by code. What is technical assistance, you may ask? Technical assistance is the Department of Cannabis Regulations process of providing targeted support to a group of stakeholders. Common types of technical assistance include, but are not limited to, webinars, virtual training, email exchanges, or phone calls. And then pursuant to Municipal Code Section 104061C, we had to have made technical assistance available to prospective or verified social equity individual applicants for a period of at least 45 days before the lottery registration period could open. And the last update I have for you are system enhancements. The restructuring of our application records and the creation of the legal entity record is going to result in an update to the modification request process. If you want to do an ownership, primary personnel, entity change, you will have to submit that modification request against the legal entity record. The nice thing is the legal entity record is a living record and it doesn't have to be renewed annually. So if you've submitted a modification request for changes in ownership or primary personnel, it won't preclude you from submitting a renewal for any of your licenses that are tied to a location, because once your ownership modification is processed, the information will be pushed down to all of the associated applications or licenses. We're also looking to automate different record updates to enable or disable a modification request based on individual record data. And by simplifying that process, we'll be allowing businesses to add consultants, lawyers, and other contact types that are maintained on the application or licensing record without having to pay the $542 review fee, because those contact types are going to be changed to a simple disclosure, and folks will be able to update their disclosures on their records as needed. We are working with finance to implement an e-payment processing. We transitioned from the old fee structure to the new fee structure. It's already implemented for the renewal process, and we're looking to implement the e-payment solution before the end of the calendar year. And then I'm working with city planning and the Excella group to integrate our DCR licensing portal with our GIS system, which is our geographic information system, so that records are updated on a nightly basis, almost in real time, so that pending applications, PCN requests, people that are getting licenses, people that are submitting modification requests, all of that information gets pushed automatically from the portal to the map, as opposed to the manual process that we have now. As we lost our land use analyst, it became very apparent that maintaining the map on a timely basis was very difficult. So we're looking to automate that. And that ends my formal presentation. I turn it back over to you, Vice President Mason.
Thank you, Assistant Director Colleen. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments for the Assistant Director at this time?
I have just one question. Thank you again, Jason, for your excellent presentation. I know in a prior meeting, or even in the prior two meetings, we talked about the challenges with a few of those positions that you're trying to fill. Can you give us an update, like how things are going? You know, because it seems like there's still a lot of vacancies, but also we had talked about those two. I forget which position it was. I think they dealt with land use, but I'm not sure. But can you give us an update on the status on those vacancies?
Sure. So within the last 30 days, DCR has hired 7 additional personnel to support the department. The majority of those personnel are assigned to the licensing team. So our existing analysts and the supervisors are going through the process of cross-training all of our new folks on our processes. And we're going to be taking one of our more senior analysts and dedicating them to the land use analyst position. And we've already started that transition. And ideally, that individual will be able to work independently beginning next month on doing the land use review. And then, of course, Rocky and I are doing senior management analyst positions to identify supervisors to oversee various functions. She will also be doing management analyst reviews to fill out the compliance team, as well as to identify folks to backfill vacancies in our social equity program support team, as well as the licensing team. And then we'll be looking to hire a public information director, which would be that day-to-day person that could work with media institutions and stuff to make sure that all of the great work that Dr. Brown and her team are doing are kind of transmitted out there into the ether, so that it's not a one-sided story, it's a balanced story moving forward. But that's what one of those positions that's been historically vacant that we haven't been able to fill, that is a top priority for our director. And then also, because we are starting to do more community engagement, more stakeholder meetings, backfilling one of our public relations specialist vacancies is also a top priority. So things are starting to really turn the corner. We have a great group of folks. All of our new hires are excellent folks. Everybody who participated in the selection process did an amazing job. They have all hit the ground running. They are all, contributing to the department immediately. And we are going to get those positions filled before the end of the year. Civil service lists that have become available, we will be interviewing off of. We've also invested a lot in the city's targeted local hire program, which gives us the ability to bring in folks that may or may not have a college degree. That has been one of the most critical programs. A lot of the folks that participate in this commission meeting, as well as support the licensing team, came in through the targeted local hire program. Every single position that was eligible to be filled through the targeted local hire program has been filled through that program and is currently filled with folks that came in through that program. A lot of them have already transitioned to administrative clerk, and they're going through the process of getting the seniority to qualify for the examinations for higher level positions. Hopefully those folks, once they become senior analysts, will be able to hopefully transition them into the management aid classification, which is a bridge classification that will allow for them to go from administrative support into the management analyst series, which is what the licensing team is comprised of, so that they can continue to grow as a city employee, develop their career, and continue to contribute to the department. So those are all great things that the director has implemented, and she's really made sure that managers like myself and supervisors are looking to bring in people and get them trained.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the detailed response. Thank you.
Commissioner Figueroa Villa. You are muted.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. Okay. You sort of responded to my question, but I was wondering if it sounds like the civil service lists are internal. Targeted local hiring program is from, I'm assuming it's people from the outside that are coming in entry level, but you can clarify that for me. But is there a link, for example, if I wanted to apply for a job, but I'm not a city employee, I'm just from the outside and I'm looking to work for this department, is there a link where I go to, or is there something already, or there's nothing available for somebody like that? What is that process? So I got a couple of requests, how do I work for the Cannabis Regulation Commission? I said, well, I'll ask a question.
So the majority of our positions are civil service positions where somebody has to be on a civil service list in order for us to interview them and consider them for a vacancy.
Okay.
The targeted local hire program is unique. It's a partnership between the city's personnel department and labor unions to give folks that don't have civil service an opportunity to apply for and train into a civil service classification. So for folks, they have the ability to register for the targeted local hire program. And when we have a vacancy in a classification that can be filled through that program, we notify the personnel department. They provide us with resumes. We identify folks that have experience that is essential to the department based on whatever the vacancy is. And then we interview a pool of folks, and that allows us to bring in folks from the private sector or who are unemployed into a position. And then it's either a 12-month process or an 18-month process that allows for them to get trained and then promote into higher level classifications until ultimately they get status in a civil service classification. And then once they have status in that civil service classification, they start to accrue seniority that would allow for them to apply for promotional opportunities in other civil service classifications.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Comments? I've long been a proponent of reducing the amount of time our applicants are required to hold property before they can move forward in the process. So I want to applaud Director Garakian for her process review and improvement that targeted that concern and has reduced the amount of time that our applicants will have to hold on to property. That has a tremendous impact on their pre-entry operating costs into the industry. And so I'm extremely happy that we have made an impact there, a significant impact there. So thank you, Director Karakian, and congratulations on that improvement for the department. With there being no other questions, Commissioner Crockett says he enthusiastically seconds that sentiment from me. And with there being no other questions or concerns, this meeting is now adjourned. The time is 3:43 p.m.